Good morning. For hand number one, we got aces. This is a 25 NL table. Full ring. We're down to 7 players. I open raised, 3 big blinds, and the small blind 3 bet. So let's look at 3 bet range. I only have 7 hands on this player. He's 17-17. Looks to be more of a tightish player. Tightish, maybe aggressive player. We have to think about what kind of hands are going to do this, are going to make this 3 bet. He only has 7. I only have 7 hands on him. That means he has 7 hands on me. So what do we see at this limit? I think this limit, we're going to see some 3 bet steals happening. So I think what we're going to do is probably pocket pairs, ace king, probably ace queen, king queen suited. Maybe these hands, ace 2 to ace 5. Maybe, I don't know how many of them would have something like that, something in the middle. So if they get called, they have the middle of the board covered. Could be something like that. I think you can have probably ace jack as well, would probably 3 bet. Maybe those queen jacks, queen 10 could possibly 3 bet. I mean, we're at 7.7%. What we're doing is, we raise in a steal position, and now this guy is playing back. He may also possibly, potentially steal with 2s, 3s, and 4s. So let's kind of give him, let's do this, a stealing or a re-stealing range, maybe something like that, something fairly wide. He doesn't know what I'm doing this with. I don't know what he's going to be doing this with. Could be fairly wide to begin with. That's 15%. Not too uncommon. For this limit for 25 NL, I'd have a tighter range for 25 for 10 NL. So he 3 bet. I raised. I should say against this range. I mean, we should be solid. We figured to have the best hand, best outlook. So I raised 4 bet. This time 4 bet. I did 20.5 big blinds. And the reason being that I think I'm going to fight back with a tighter, some range of hands. That would include maybe like my ace 5, ace 4 suited. So if I'm gonna have those hands, I have to have big hands in that 4 betting range. So I can't just be 4 betting aces and kings and ace king. I should have something small, something in the middle too, smaller. I'd probably also maybe 4 bet with like 8-7 or 9-8, maybe even 9-7. Maybe one of those, just to kind of protect against this steal. So he just calls. So when he calls, I think we're going to lose a lot of these hands. I think we're going to lose those. Probably ace 10, ace jack. Maybe ace queen's going to fold now. Still think aces and kings. I think we're going to do an assigned weight. To a weight of 50% for aces and kings. So I think aces and kings could 5 bet shove. and we'll do that 50% of the time they call, 50% of the time they 5-bet shove. Let's see here. Maybe tens. That might be good. We went from 15% down to 3.4%. That's a pretty significant drop. But we help narrow his range. I am gonna leave these aces in there because in his mind, having an ace is gonna block, ace, king, and so forth. So right now he's kind of heavy on, pocket pairs. So we see a flop, queen, jack, and 2. Not actually what I don't perceive as a good flop for me because he has queens and jacks. I think if he has kings, that's great. We're gonna get it all in, but I'm gonna be behind queens, jacks. He could have ace, queen, ace, jack, but again, those are gonna be 2 combos. So actually, no, I have so we have ace, hearts, diamonds, clubs. So he could only have the spades. Ace, queen of spades. So he checks, and now I think what I'm just gonna do, I'm either way ahead or way behind. If I bet and I get check raised, I feel like I'm gonna have to just call and not like it. So the pot's kind of large. We've got a stack to pot ratio of 2-to-1, a little more than 2-to-1. I'm just gonna check behind. So I think he's gonna check with his entire range. I don't think he's gonna get fancy. When you look at his entire range, I'm at 73%, so I went from like 80% down to 73%. I mean, we dropped because of the queen jacks. I check behind. I think that's okay. 5 hearts is on the turn. And you can see that looking at his range, he's got, sets in 2 pairs, 18%. Overpair is 20. Overpair is at 14%. I'm sorry, 10%. He's got a lot of weak hands here. If he bets, I think he's probably going to be betting with maybe the sets, hoping to get paid off. That could also have a weighting. Maybe weighted at, he'll check, 75% of the time, 25% of the time, he'll actually bet it. So let's actually do that. With his sets, he'll be betting 25%. Try to get some money in there. Get some money in there now, even if it's just small. He might be betting and hoping that I'm going to raise, that I'll perceive his small bet as having weakness. I check behind. Again, I kind of think I'm like a way ahead, way behind type of situation. Yeah, he could have ace king, but he's drawing to 4 outs. Could have the heart draws, but if you think about the heart draws, I blocked the ace of hearts, so he'd have to have king jack. And do I think he's gonna 3-bet and then call when I 4-bet? I don't think so. I didn't include it in his range. Didn't include king jack in his range. So now 6 of diamonds falls, and at this point now, if he has a set, I think he's going to bet. So he bet 12 big blinds, and question is, what else is he going to do this with? I think he's going to do it with a set. I think he's going to do it with an overpair. Maybe top pair. I don't think middle pair is going to bet. Weak pair, ace high. I don't think any of those are going to bet. So, on the river, I think he's going to be betting 34.3% of the time, and I'm only at 45.6. So I don't think I can't really raise. If I raise, then I think the only hands that are going to call will be the overpair and the sets, and maybe not even the overpair. Maybe it's just going to be the sets, because the way, it's a 4-bet pot. I represented strength, which I could easily then have had jacks and queens in my hand. I don't think I'm afraid of twos, fives, or sixes. I think he would have folded those. So I'm getting 18%. I need 18% equity. I have that equity. I think this is just a call. See what he has. And I did call, and he shows eights, which eights wasn't in his hand, wasn't in his range. I blocked it down to tens, so kind of let's reduce it down to eights for his opening range, and then things start to make a little bit. Then kind of review and see what happened. So I don't like his call, but in his mind, his call to the 4-bet, he's calling 10 more. I don't think he's getting the odds to set mine pre-flop, so he had to call 10 more to win, so he's getting 25% pot odds, and behind is only 90 big blinds behind, so 9 to 1 behind, maybe just barely, but he could easily fold. And then the eights, he's going to check those, and I could easily have queen and jack, ace, maybe ace queen, pocket aces, kings, queens, and jacks. So he's going to check. He's going to play it slow. He's going to do the same thing again on the turn, and then on the river, after I've showed all this weakness by checking, we get there to the river, and then I guess it kind of makes sense if he bets his weak pair. So maybe not all of his weak pairs, but if he does do his weak pairs, we've got a big range. And since we know he bets those, he'll probably also do ace 5 and ace 2. So with ace 5 and ace 2, we're ahead. If we raise, I think he's dumping all of those. So I don't see any benefit of raising at this point. I could have bet the turn, but the turn, I think again is going to fold out a lot of the hands that might do this play with. Really, if I bet, I think ace queen's going to call. Just get that 6 of diamonds. So if I bet here, I think he's going to call just basically top pair plus, top pair over pair, maybe ace jack. He doesn't have flush draw, open-ended straight draw. Probably doesn't call the gut shot. So he's calling 24% of the time. If he calls with middle pair and top pair, if he just dumps those middle pair and calls with just top pair, then I'm at 52%. So yeah, I could have bet here, got called, and then on the river check behind, because on the river he's going to have 45% of the time his range will have the sets. So yeah, possibly I think I missed the turn bet here when we expand his range. I think I missed the turn bet, and when I make the turn bet, he's not going to bet that river. And either way, we made a little bit of value. He bet the river, whereas I probably would have just checked behind. Kind of weak for aces, but it's a 4-bet pot. I assumed he had a stronger hand. All right, so this is hand number 1. Let's close out and get hand number 2. All right, hand number 2, I have king 9 offsuit. This is a 50 NL table. This is 8 max. So we get a limper. So we only had one big blind. So we get a limper for, I've only seen him play one hand. He's played 100%. So don't really know much about this player. I raised, and then he calls. So we're going to look for limp calling ranges. I think we're going to give him all the pockets. Let's do this. Get these get this range set up. All right, so we will assume at this limit, we will have a pretty tight open raising range against an unknown. Raised first in. Don't know about those. Get rid of these gappers. Okay, something like that, I think. I think he would have raised pre-flop, jacks plus, ace king, ace queen suited, ace jack, probably ace queen off, king queen suited, king queen clubs, or king queen offsuit. I think he might, we'll assume since this is a 50 NL game, we'll assume that he would open raise with ace 2 to ace 5 suited. He limps and calls. I think just limping pre-flop indicates weakness. Get rid of those. We'll include those. If he limp called, it's limping isn't that strong. So I think we'll just leave those hands as his raising. That was his limping range, and then he'll probably just call everything. Player that limps wants to see pots. So my raise isn't going to scare him, especially since I only raised 3 big blinds, which I should have really raised 4 at least. So king 9 isn't particularly good. It was a limped hand, and I would suspect that at this game, a lot of people were playing tight, so I was just looking to steal with king 9. I'm 24 hands in. This must be a table where basically one raise picks up the blinds, and we're not seeing a lot of flops. I think that's probably about the only reason why I would have raised this, raised the king 9 offsuit. And of course, and again, if I think everyone's going to be folding, that's fine. I mean, look at fold to steals, 100%. Called 2 bets, 0 out of 11, 0 out of 11. This is his first hand. He's an unknown, so yeah, it is tight table. So I'm just doing this, to try to pick up the blinds. He calls. Flop is ace, jack of hearts, 6 of hearts. All right, and we don't know what he's going to do. We will assume, since I have initiative, that he's going to check. He's going to check to me, which he does, and then we have an option of c-betting. So right now, against his entire range, we're only at 23%. We do have a backdoor straight, backdoor flush draw, even with a 9, 9 of hearts. I think if I bet, he's going to probably call his middle pairs, probably not the 6s. We don't, maybe. Okay, so we're going to say since he limped, he'll call with any pair right now, even though that ace is kind of scary. He'll call flush draw, probably gut shot. These. So here's the deal. If he calls with all of his weak pairs plus, we're at 17%. If he's going to fold the weak pair 6 but call with the jacks, because the jacks kind of give him some backdoor straight possibilities, then we are at 11.9%. Right now, this board kind of hits me harder than under the gun. I have more nut hands. I've got aces. I've got jacks in my range. I don't think he has aces or jacks unless he limps. He raises with limps with aces. A lot of people who limp with aces would have 3-bet. So I don't think he has aces, but I've got the nut range. I think I should probably c-bet here and just try to pick up the pot, because he's continuing 60% of the time. He's folding 30 He's folding 40%. Half pot bet here is going to work. So 3.5 big blinds, or 3.5. I'm risking to win 10.5. So it only needs to work 33% of the time. I think half pot works. I can always reassess. I mean, I have heart draws in my range too, so I think I missed a c-bet here. I do think I missed a c-bet. So we both checked and we saw a turn of a 9 of spades, and this is kind of interesting, I can say, because I hit a pair, but now I lose my backdoor straights and flushes. So villain 2 now bets, and villain 2 could be doing this since I showed weakness. You know, standard is to fire out that c-bet, and then you know, once I check behind, now one of the tactics that you can use is to fire out pot, try to pick it up with anything. So he may be doing this with his entire range, in which case I'm at 45% equity. So he's betting pot 7. So I have to win. So it's 7 to win 14. So I need 50% equity to make this call. I don't think I have this. It's kind of a fold. Should be a fold. Because I just had the 9. I think if he does it, if he's a little bit more selective. So if he does it with top pair and his no-made hands and his flush draws, open-ended, and the gut shots, I'm at 33% equity because he's just so heavy on the top pair. I think this should be a fold. I missed the c-bet. Now that I missed the c-bet, I probably should just fold, be done with it. I've got third pair. He's betting pot, which is applying pressure on me. Now, if I call, we have to think about what could I do to win the pot if I don't hit. So if I call, I'm looking at a situation where if he bets again, I'm probably going to have to be done. But if he checks, then I could fire out a bet, and I may pick it up. I may get him to fold a jack, maybe, or an ace with a weak kicker. I mean, you could see me play, you know, ace king, maybe, but I don't think so. I think this is a c-bet. This is good pot to c-bet. Could flop to c-bet because I could see the jacks calling. I could see, you know, queen jack, king jack, queen 10 calling. I could see a lot of hands that call that are second best, so I should have just gone ahead and bet. Kind of represented the ace. And right now I probably should have folded. I didn't. I called. So we are going to say he's going to do that with his entire range again because I showed weakness. He's just going to fire out pot, try to win it. And then I caught, I think, what I will call a miracle card, King of Hearts. So right now I could easily represent a heart. And I think maybe that's what I was thinking, is that I was calling thinking, well, I have my heart outs as well, even though it doesn't give me the flush. I think it gives me a good bluff cards. So not only could I catch 2 9s or 3 of the kings, so 5 outs, but I could catch all of the hearts potentially. Maybe not the ace of hearts, but I could catch the hearts. And now with the king of hearts, I think that eliminates a lot of hands in my range. So I don't have king X suited anymore. You know, king X of hearts. I don't have ace king of hearts. I don't have, you know. I could have queen 10 of hearts maybe. That's kind of a long shot. I would have had to call a gut shot, and then you have to think, why wouldn't I have bet, you know, on the flop? So I don't think, as I think through it, I don't think I would have had hearts because I would have c-bet him. Villain checks, and now it's up to me. What do I do? I think when he's got, you know, he's going to fold, you know, a large chunk of the time. I think if I bet, you know, we have to think about what kind of cards are going to call. I think he's going to call his top pairs. I think his middle pairs are going to probably, the king, queen, king 10 are probably going to fold. So, if he just calls with top pair plus, I should say, I think a flush is going to bet here. And I think a straight might bet. It's only 4%. So right now, of the hands that I think he would call, top pair, two pair sets, and straights, if I bet, I'm 50, and he calls, I'm 54.8% equity. If we get rid of the straights, I'm 57% equity. So I think this is a value bet here. Not a pot size value bet, maybe something like eight big blinds, 7 big blinds, 33% pot. Try to get a call. I think if I bet that amount, I might get called by a middle pair. 11%. If I do half pot, he may fold some of his top pair hands. Whereas if I bet 3/4, I think probably all of the aces are gonna call. So what do? I bet half pot, and he calls. So I think we're gonna see top pair hands, and we're probably gonna see like maybe ace 10, probably not ace 8 or ace 7. But we're getting called, and we should have equity advantage. And we see he shows ace 4. So I did not have ace 4 in his range, because I assumed his offsuit aces would have stopped at ace 8. But we add it all the way down. Now, it's a little bit scarier now. He's so heavy in the aces now that c-betting's probably not going to be worth it. So now he's going to be calling 68%, or folding 32%. So now half pot c-bets just isn't going to work enough to show automatic profit, which I think this can work out. So let's add a note to this guy. Notes on villain 2. So we can do say here pre-flop. So limp call under the gun with ace 4 off. So now we know if we see him again, he's capable of limp calling his offsuit aces, probably also his suited aces. If he does that, he may have the kings, may have a wider range. But still, I think it's, with that wide range, I think there's so many aces in his range that I don't think we could represent, I don't think we're getting enough folds with the c-bet to justify c-betting with a king 9 offsuit. If we had, let's say 2 hearts, or if this was king queen, or queen 10, something a little bit stronger for the backdoor potential, then I think we could probably c-bet, knowing that there's going to be more cards for us to barrel on. Maybe even like 10-9 or 9-8, 7-8, if we've got the hearts. Anyways, so we didn't quite have ace 4 offsuit in his range, but we did as we kind of work it out. Do you think he's going to be betting that turn with probably all of his range? And then on the river, once we get there, I think he's going to be heavy on top pair. I think he's going to call. We can go for a value bet at that point. We're going to have to go for a value bet. What about the turn? Should we have called that bet? Probably not. I don't think so. Because again, I don't really think the hearts make sense. If I would have had the nut draw, and I think the nut draw would have c-bet with that. And I think most people would have c-bet, their ace with the heart draw. I think most people would have c-bet, king queen of hearts. But and once the king comes out, okay, well, they don't have king queen. The only hearts that I could think of would be like queen 10 and 10-9. So I got lucky. All right, so look again tomorrow for a couple more hands.